Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us here at Poe on the Go. As always, Sunday nights, I'd like to bring in my old pal Clearwater Chad to join us. How we doing tonight, Chad?
Good, Poe. Thanks for having me. How you doing
As
today?
always, you're part of the crew, man. We gotta
Thanks.
have Clearwater here. You know, I don't know. I think some people would rather watch Roscoe than either of us. So
Yeah, I
we're
agree.
we're fighting for the attention there. So let's see. We got Lovett, we got Debbie M, Don Lambert. Thank you all, and Grand Theft Hoopty. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Chad's got the mini Chad there with him, the mini me, and
And I always
Mr.
forget his
Bill.
name. Yep.
There we go. So
Cool.
yeah, I almost for some reason that just popped right out of my head. So how are things over your way tonight?
Good. Weather's pretty mild over in Buffalo. How's everything in Michigan, Poe?
It's hot here today,
Oh, is it?
man. It's ridiculous. I was out working on some new content. My daughter and I went to one of those local markets, and we bought some of the most exotic fruit you could find here in Michigan, of course. But we got some pretty crazy fruit. We're going to do a video on that. My kid feeds me exotic fruit, um, and then and I've had some crazy stuff. Going to Asia and South America, I've ate things that you'd never see here in the United States. I just couldn't believe, like in Thailand, the number of types of banana there are there. I mean, you have
Wow.
bananas that are that big, all the way up to like that huge bananas. Uh, then
Wow.
working on another project with the AP Laser, I am recycling plastic, and I'm almost finished with the getting the whole thing down. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm taking the caps off of plastic bottles, different kinds of plastic that we would normally send into a recycling situation, and melting them down and turning them into paving stones for backyards and patios.
Oh,
So,
that's excellent. That's
so
really
yeah.
interesting.
Oh, it's going to be it's really really um, something I've been wanting to try out. I'm also looking at some other things like how do you make making being able to make recycled benches from all recycled plastic. You know,
Wow.
some of the wind chimes. Making the shapes out, cutting it out of the plywood with the AP laser, forming layers, and then putting the plastic in there and making the shapes out of that. They're more durable, and of course they're recycled. And that goes along with my mantra when it comes to my DIY work is reuse, recycle.
Yeah,
So
I'm into that stuff too.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
we can all sit around here and say, yeah, I support climate change, I support going green, but put some skin in the game. Let's see how it
yep.
goes. So, all right, how's everybody
Um,
out there? Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I want to tell you something important. Well, everything we talk about is important, but in the comments we have the Scientological geek. Her name is Holly. She was in the chat earlier. I did a stream
Oh, okay.
at a waterfalls, which was nice. But anyways, she dropped a video today with Mark Bunker, which is very good.
Oh,
She
wow.
actually, yeah, she interviewed Mark Bunker, so that was very good. If you want to check that out,
Welcome. Yeah,
she's
I
got a
was
nice
scrolling through
channel.
so quickly I didn't even see it. Thank you for joining us. Shoot me an email. I'm gonna put my email address down at the bottom. Shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you and talk about a few things there. So that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Whoa, let's see here. Don Lambert, Lancaster, California, had an earthquake about an hour or so ago. You know how
Oh
many?
wow.
How bad it was? I hadn't even heard about that.
I didn't either.
John Bubba, dude, it's ridiculously hot. What makes it worse is the Louisiana humidity. Yeah, I know how you feel. You gotta remember, Michigan's basically a peninsula, so I mean, it's horrible. The
Oh,
humidity here is bad. Just walking to the mailbox and back. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I've been out working, and then on top of it, I've been out there with the high heat, getting that plastic melted down in straight sunlight. It's enough to just whoop you.
wow.
So,
That's
and I'm
cool.
sure down there in Clearwater, it's got to be a lot of fun with that humidity right off the ocean. So,
Yeah.
you know. That's how we've got it here. You literally drive 15 miles east of where I'm at, and you're at Lake Erie or the Detroit River, whichever you want. Which if you go more northernly, you're going to be at the Detroit River. Go a little bit south of that, you're at Lake Erie. So we have constant humidity here. I've got a river that's literally 150 feet out the back gate of my property. Got it's just wow. Oh, and Joel says, "Hi, Chief, and howdy, Godfather." So what's new in the world of Clearwater, Chad, today?
Well, we're doing on my channel. We're doing our waterfall series. So I went to two different
You didn't go chasing them, did you?
No, we had one. It was so in the country. It was in a town called Holly, New York. There was no internet. I couldn't even stream, so I took a video of it. But it was fun.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah, have you ever been down to Pigeon Forge? What is that? Gatlinburg area down there?
No, I heard
go up in
the Catskills.
Oh yeah, go up in the Appalachia there, and the waterfalls coming down the mountain there. I talk about just absolutely, they're postcard kind of picturesque moments. Let's see. John Bubba says the humidity, it bites like a cannibal with a eating disorder.
Wow.
Folks, I put links in the descriptions there. I am now on Spotify and on Rumble. Just having problems with the algorithms here. They are literally every video that I put up, from the moment that it ends, I'm getting hit with a violation of community standards, and it's almost always for profanity or vulgarity. And the problem is we don't use any of that on my channel, so I don't know where it's coming from. So I'm looking into different spaces where I can stream as well, because it's getting a little ridiculous. Each and every video is getting hit like that, and that's really hurting with the algorithm, and it's hurting with a lot of the other things that are going on. And I've heard from a couple of other YouTubers that are getting the same thing. So Dave, how's it going, Dave? I was checking out that new house Udon build that the video you got going on there. Dave has a channel, Gotta Love Thailand. Great guy, lives over in the Surin province in Thailand, and just real good guy, puts out some real good content. So cool. And that's what a lot of us are thinking, is that they have someone who is specifically going in each and every time that I post content, and they're filing a claim on me. So not surprised, but I'm just making sure I'm looking at other avenues. And what they do is they say that they have their AI is automatically checking each and every video that goes out for everybody. And you have to go in and you have to have a real human being check it out. And it just drives you nuts. Dave, you going live tonight on your channel? Let us know. And what's crazy is you have so many areas that are in these drought situations, and then you have other areas like here where you literally could go out there and pour gasoline on the forest, and it's not going to catch on fire. It's it's crazy. Dave, go ahead and post a link to that. If you all get a chance, get over there. Make sure you show Dave some love. Subscribe to his channel, check out his stuff. He's a real good guy. He he'll tell you about it. He basically got a second chance at life here in Thailand. Met a beautiful woman, has a great family now. He's just doing fantastic. They've got a real good life going on there. Oh my goodness. And we got Mr. Mitch is in here. One of our pals from over in Thailand. Nice. He has a great channel as well. Thanks guys for coming in. I really appreciate it. So we're going to talk about an interesting topic that's going on here tonight. There's been this big push that was going on for a couple of years there, defunding the police. Oh, and Boss Mama Goldie's in here. And we got John's here from John, Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm not going to hold that against you that you're from Pennsylvania. So the thing is that there was this huge push. We've got to defund the police. We've got to stop this. Oh yeah, it's morning over there. So it's what 7:10, Mr. Mitch.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us. Glad you jumped in after your walk there. Where Mitch, where are you living at over there? And but as I was saying, we've got this. They had this huge push that was going on, and it was for defunding the police. You have departments like Chicago, and some of the statistics are showing they're up to 39% less officers than they've had before. LA, first time in a generation that is under 9,000 officers with the LAPD. New York City's losing officers like crazy. And the thing is that as you look at this and you see how crime is growing in cities throughout the country, mass looting happening in major cities, people being pushed off of subway platforms in front of moving trains in New York. LA has huge homeless populations. They have people literally just walk into a store and just start stealing everything. And you have to wonder, you know, as a law enforcement officer, when you have your district attorneys and your mayor, and they're telling you you cannot arrest for shoplifting, you can't arrest for this. Illinois passed new laws where you cannot arrest someone for criminal trespass. So literally, someone can walk onto your property and like they do in LA, where they just show up in your front yard and pitch a tent and just start living there, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, and that's something that hasn't been brought up as well. I was going to bring that point up a little bit later here. Is it's not just hurting police, it's hurting corrections. Corrections are already short-staffed. We all know that. That's an extremely hard job. You're in there with the worst of society. Some of these folks are never going to see the outside of a penitentiary. And you're in there and you're having to deal with that, keep order inside of those places. And it's a hard job. My brother did it for a while, and he was like, screw this, I'm going back to working at a steel mill.
yeah.
So, and now I hadn't heard about that, but John's saying some prisons are having to activate the National Guard. You've got a councilman from Washington, D.C., who's calling for the activation of the National Guard to help cover Washington, D.C. Well, didn't we see what happened at Wright State University when they called in the National Guard to help with things? National Guard aren't police. They're military. Military comes in, they're going to have guns. They're going to have M16s. They're going to have tanks. They're going to have different things. They're not the police. And next thing you know, what do you do when they start throwing Molotov cocktails at the National Guard?
Wow.
You got to think about how they're going to respond. Let's see here, WM. That looting is so flipping disheartening. If you want to break the hearts of your own species, that's the way to do it. Make it legal. And that's, I don't understand when you lose huge national chain stores from your city, how you think that's a positive. Look in LA, look in San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, and look at the stores where they're literally putting cages in front of all of the items that they have for sale. You literally go around, find out what you're going to get, and then you have to find someone to get it for you. You have to go up to the counter and you have to have them pull it out for you. So it's absolutely ridiculous what's going on.
Yeah.
Let's see, Mr. Mitch, in a couple of weeks I'm going back to the States for my daughter's wedding. Oh, congratulations.
Nice.
Seattle area. First time in my
That's
life
great.
I've actually been concerned about my travel destination, and I've been to some bad places.
Wow.
I'll mirror that. I've been in Colombia. I've been in Brazil. And I've been in some of the rough barrios there in those countries. I've been all over Asia. And to be honest with you, I've never felt unsafe. Was talking with one of my kids about the possibility of going to New York City, and I'm like, no, not going. It's off the hook. And you have cities like Chicago where they have such tight anti-gun laws. The only people with the guns are the criminals. What are you seeing any things like this in the area where you're at?
Actually, believe it or not, as for Well, I have two different things. I got the police and but the police, or no, not the police, but as for the homelessness, no, I did a live in this the heart of the city of Buffalo, and there was actually comments that there wasn't any homelessness or crime.
That's nice. That's good.
And yeah, um, as for I can't really speak on the record, but I know a little bit about the corrections in New York State because I kind of loosely do some union work, not directly but indirectly. So I hear some of my coworkers talk, and they the corrections in New York State. I don't know about other states, Poe, but they can't leave their job until they get the relief. So they're
Really? Oh
yeah. So they
yeah, and
yeah
we actually have a law here in Michigan that says that you can't just leave
yeah.
a city unprotected. So if like you're talking about, if the person for the next shift calls off, you got no choice. You're forced over.
And then,
Uh,
but the problem with ours is around here, from what I hear people talk about, is you're overworking people so much to where they're literally quitting their good paying union job to just go work anywhere because you're
yeah.
working them too much. There's too much overtime.
I can't tell you how many officers in the Detroit area have actually left their departments and gone to work for companies like Quicken Loan.
Yeah.
They're going and they're doing this, and you can go to work for Quicken Loan, make a couple $100,000 a year, and for them you don't have to fight with nobody. You don't have people constantly recording you trying to prove that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You don't have people calling you out, just saying horrible things to you. I've started noticing somewhat of a transition that's starting to come about in public. The media and a lot of the stars and the people who make money off of saying there's a problem with everything. The common people are saying we need our cops back. We need our cops on the street. We need our communities safe. You know, there was one guy I was watching an interview with in Los Angeles. The guy goes to work. He works for the city of Los Angeles. He comes home and there are 4 tents set up in his front yard.
Mm.
Now he has a fence around the front of his property and it's all locked up and everything. They just climbed right over the fence, got in there, set up their tents, and then someone went and started taking down his fence.
Oh.
And he called the police and they're like, there's nothing we can do about it. What kind of society is that?
Yeah.
I mean, this is absolutely crazy. I mean, so everybody who was talking about we want socialism, everybody should get a free chance and you own nothing and property is the property of the public. Well, now they're seeing it out there and they're like, I don't like it.
Mm.
I spent a lot of money and I'm having to pay all this money every month for a mortgage, for insurance, things like that. And that's another thing no one even talks about is what about if one of these people ends up getting hurt on your property? So these are real issues that we've got to deal with. And then you have someone like Mr. Mitch. He's living in a country where it has actually very low crime rates. And I mean, if you've never been to Thailand, it's amazing how friendly, how polite, how accommodating the people there are. And then you're coming back home where lawlessness is at a whole new level. So it's got to be frightening. Let's see, Debbie M. I was born and raised in Bellevue, spent a lot of time in Seattle, completely devastated watching the looting come back, like an out-of-body experience. Yeah,
Wow.
I agree. Joel McCoyne, a nation without police is anarchy. The problem is complex, but it's a hard job, not for everybody. I think that people who would make good cops avoid it. The ones who should not be are seeking it. Well, I think with all this, and we saw this problem in the city of Detroit back in I believe it was the 1990s, when they had a huge hiring push. They just started hiring in everybody that they could. Well, it completely overwhelmed the system. Background checks weren't done properly. Here it is. You have people that are graduating the academy and they're spending a year or two on the job as a licensed police officer. And then they find out they're a convicted felon.
Wow.
And you can't own a gun. You can't even be a security guard, but they hired these folks in as police officers. Somebody has really dropped the ball on that. Love it. Crime here in the Southwest has ramped up. Very troubling. Yes. And as we watch our police departments starting to crumble, we're watching people who would be the type of people you wanted as a police officer turning their back on the job, this is the kind of thing we're going to continue to see. Is we're going to see that our cities are going to start losing more and more and more of its safety and security. What's going to happen with that? Housing prices are going to hit rock bottom. The value of your property isn't going to be there. It's going to be like in the crash, I believe it was 2008. You got a home that you bought for I'll just give it, because I know LA prices are high, say $500,000. You got this home you bought for all this money. Now it's worth $100,000, and you're stuck paying a mortgage on a house that isn't worth a fifth of what it was when you bought it. Yeah, it's crazy. Love it. Everyone complains about cops, but who's the first person they call when trouble hits? Exactly.
Absolutely.
And there were a lot of people that I dealt with when I was working in law enforcement that I won't talk to the police. I want nothing to do with the police. I hate the police. Police are scum. They're out there killing everybody. 911, my neighbor parked his car in front of my driveway. I need you to come over and take care of it now. So, you see a lot of that. And then you've got the folks like the sovereign citizens that, I don't respect the authority of this court. This court has no jurisdiction over me. But if I got to sue somebody, then I'm going to sue them through this court, and then I'll respect the authority of it then. It's, this is what we got. A lot of people, they like to go out there and they like to beat their chests. I hate the police. We need to get rid of the police. I heard something in my house. 911, I think someone's breaking in. Well, what do you do when you call 911? Detroit, they had the problem for a long time. You'd call the Detroit police, and if it was a major felony incident, you were lucky if you had officers showing up 2 to 4 hours after you called for police assistance. There's been incidents where people have called the police on legitimate felony situations, dangerous situations, and they were lucky if the police showed up 2 to 3 days later. Understaffed, overwhelmed. And now a lot of cities, if you want to call and say you have something that's non-emergency, a lot of cities won't allow you to do that. They funnel all police calls through their 911 systems. And so every call is a 911 call. And that's just, to me, that's just padding your numbers when it comes to administrators. Well, we took in 33,000 911 calls in the month of July. And that's up from the 32,000 we had in June. So, we need more money. That's the kind of thing, and then when they're filling out their grant paperwork for the federal government and they're like, look at how many 911 calls we're taking. We need 10 new cars. That's the kind of stuff that they do. Administrators do that kind of stuff all day long. Joel McCoy, in our little town, we can't pay great, but it's better than a city. Lower crime, easy life. We have had luck getting officers who want their family in a safer place come here, but still need more. And that's going to be a major problem. As the chief in Luna Pier, we were paying higher than a lot of the cities around us to get our officers in, but we could only bring them in part-time. We had no full-time officers. The county sheriff's department, they could literally go in and pick and choose the best officers from all the departments in the county and say, hey, we're going to give you a full-time job, benefits, and a pension. And you can't blame them. Had a young man, awesome young officer. This kid worked everything. He worked every minute you'd give him. He's now working with the sheriff's department, and he's doing good there, and he's a good cop. So it's good to see him out there doing good for himself. It hurt to lose him from the department, but what are you going to do? Yeah. Let's see. John Bubba, I love that one Louisiana senator said, you hate police so much. Well, if you're in trouble, call a crackhead. Granted, I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, that's been a comment that's been shuffling around for a few years is, yeah, you're in trouble, call a crackhead. And it's funny when you see the politicians who are pushing for it. And I'm not going to call out any of them, but if you look up articles about politicians who, while calling for defunding of police, were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for armed security for themselves. Of course, it doesn't bother them. They're all, they have these armed security officers, and because they are elected officials, there's a lot more care taken in making sure that they're okay. But you have the New York. I can't remember if it was a member of Congress or a senator from New York who got who got carjacked.
Mm.
And what I found amazing is there was this huge push. We've got to get out there and we got to find the people who stole this car. They've got to go to jail. Well, wait a minute. You just released people who were in for violent assaults on other people. You release people for armed robberies.
Mm.
You've sent these people back out into society, and now you're wondering why we have these crime problems going on. And at the same time, you're calling for investigations into law enforcement to crack down on police. And it's just amazing to me. Let's see. Free Xenu, and welcome, Free Xenu. Comment: I had a bad experience with a cop that totally messed up a situation. He was young and new. Looking back onto it, he was trying to help. We've since talked off the record. He told me he feels bad. Well, that's the thing is that what a lot of folks don't get, and I have said it a lot of times, is that people seem to think that police officers aren't human beings, that we're not allowed to have emotions, we're not allowed to feel, we're not allowed to express our emotions. All right. And that if anything that we do, we automatically have to go to jail for the rest of our lives. I just watched an officer pick up his cell phone in his patrol car. He needs to go to jail. He needs to lose his job right now. Was he driving? No, he was in a parking lot. Well, you do know that if they're not operating the vehicle at the time, that's pretty much not a violation of law. And also law enforcement's exempted. And the reason for that is because you will get calls on your cell phone. Got it all the time when I was an officer. You get calls on your cell phone where they wanted you to go to an emergency situation, but they didn't want you to lights and sirens, and they didn't want it out over the radio.
Wow.
What a lot of people don't realize is that, say you've got a burglary call, you flip on your lights, flip on your sirens, you go like a bat out of Hades, flying up to the scene. All you're doing is announcing to the people that are breaking into the home that you're on your way. So, there's a lot of times where I would get a call. Hey, can you go over here? This is going on with this person. I don't want to put it on the radio because I don't want, it's going to be a problem with safety or something like that. But, folks are, well, I saw an officer do this. I saw an officer do that. Okay. The human being, people make mistakes, and that's the thing. And I've said it, I don't know how many times. I hated writing traffic tickets. All right. I pull most people over, have a talk with them. If they were honest and they were like, yep, I screwed up, or sorry, something like that, they walked away without a ticket, unless, suspended license, something like that, where I had no choice. Our department had a policy. If you're suspended, you're arrested. But the problem is that, people don't look at that. They're like, I got a ticket for 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. Oh, let me see the ticket. Well, actually, the officer stopped you for 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, but only wrote you for 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. It's still the same thing. No, it's not. You could have been looking at a whole lot more, but the officer was nice to you. Well, he talked to me rude. He needs to lose his job. Okay. And I'm someone that in the 25 years with my department, I had 3 citizens' complaints against me. And that's really low. And of the 3 citizens' complaints, the one that burnt me the most of all was a man came in and said that I had written his wife a ticket and that my stopping his wife and writing her a ticket was a form of harassment. All right. Well, first off, these people live all the way in the northern part of Michigan. They're never down here. They came down to visit with some friends and family, and driving down the street with the grandson hanging out of the window, screaming vulgarities at people going down the road. And when I pulled her over, I'm like, hey, what, you can't do this. He's not in a seatbelt. He's unsafe. You've got to make, you're responsible. What can I do? I can't make that child do anything. I went around the car and I looked at him. I go, hey, do you want me to tow your grandmother's car? No. Then how about you sit down and put your seatbelt on and start screaming at people? What are you going to do when an adult hears you screaming the kind of vulgarities that you're screaming at his wife and walks up and punches you in the face? amazingly, the kid stopped. But her whole attitude of, well, I can't do anything about it, so I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, she's got to be responsible. This is a child. This is a teenager that is hanging out of her car driving down the road. I wrote her a ticket. I could have wrote her a whole book of tickets. I wrote her one ticket. And what do I get for being nice and not writing her all those tickets? Her husband, who wasn't even there, comes in and files a formal complaint against me. The chief looked at it, he read it, and he goes, the guy wasn't even there. I go, I know. He goes, okay, done. But asking him, the world had broken down because of it. Don Lambert, free. They don't do anything as they won't find anything. It's part of the Havana. Okay, I don't know. Don, can you explain that a little bit further? Let's see if we got anything else down here. That'd be interesting. Let's just have a fun party online. I believe that's what channel's for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so there's a conversation going on. Hey, Chitz is here. Our city PD has such a crappy radio signal, radio and signal coverage that cell phones are the lifeline of our officers. Yeah, and some places that happens. Here in Michigan, we've been really good about the fact that Michigan State Police is like nationally recognized for the way that they test equipment and things like that. So a lot of equipment that's bought is, a lot of other agencies are looking at what Michigan State Police are buying. And so we've always had great radio systems. I mean, I was talking about the time I was in that chase took me all the way into Ohio. You got to remember, I was 40 miles south of my department before I started losing radio contact. So that's pretty daggone good. And with the new systems that bounce from tower to tower to tower, you can literally be on the other side of the country and get radio signal. So, hopefully your department is going to be able to move up into it soon enough. Southern Mama, people are only human. It's crazy, double standards. People think they're so smart to say to cops they know the law, blah blah blah. And the thing is what a lot of people don't realize. Police officers are not attorneys. All right, we learn the penal code, we learn the traffic code, we learn a lot of the state laws that are criminal code. We don't know the civil stuff, and when you literally spend your entire career learning as you go. I mean, let's see. Like this right here. This is a criminal investigations book. I mean, you see how thick it is. And this book, all the different things. And this is just a first level criminal investigations book. I've literally got books that are twice the thickness of this that are on criminal investigation. I've got books that are twice the thickness on just the motor vehicle code. And police officers are constantly having to continue to educate themselves throughout their career. I got to say, Michigan State Police, they put out updates on the law. They have members of the state police that's their job to constantly watch what new laws are being passed, what judgments are being brought down in the courts, because they all have direct impacts on how we do the job. So, you're constantly, from day one till the day that you retire, you are constantly updating on the law, and it doesn't stop. Batgoat's in here. He says, "What up, Chad?"
Hey.
See, have a good friend, a Denver cop for 30 years. He says that poor cops with bad attitude make it hard. Yeah, it's very true. They hired almost anyone. The shortage was and is so big. This is serious as heck for all of us. Yeah, exactly. The thing is that with the number of officers that are leaving to go to other places, these departments are fighting furiously to try to bring their numbers back up. There's going to be mistakes, and we're going to end up with a lot of situations like we did with Detroit, where they hired so many people that they weren't able to do all the proper background checks on them that they need to do. Let's see. John Bubba. Now, to be fair, one thing I always hated about cops were and are getting Terry stopped to this day. I still don't understand how I look suspicious walking home from work. Where are you living at, John? Because we just didn't do that.
Yeah.
Even back when it wasn't a prohibited kind of thing. You just didn't stop people just because you thought they looked, and that may be our department, but we didn't have that problem. Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to look through these comments over here.
A lot of great comments.
Let's see. Ted S. I'm giving you minutes. Watch Chad, but I'm going to be Chad. Okay. Hey, have at it. Chad, if you have any comments that are popping up on your side that you need that I'm not seeing.
Oh, I'm just checking the streamline. I didn't even load up my screen.
Richie Pound's back. Hey, Poe. People are holding police to a high level these days like a pilot. You don't want your pilot to make a mistake. Well, it's,
Even pilots make mistakes, don't they, Bo?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. That's the thing is that, and that goes back to a lot like with this, they're being, they're trying to cut their salaries. They're trying to cut their pensions, their benefits. The airlines keep getting bailed out, keep getting billions of dollars. The executives are making millions of dollars a year. But here you have the pilots and the attendants on the planes that are, they're being worked to death. I've literally seen flights where, you look back and your flight attendant is literally sleeping in the jump seat because they're working double after double after double. Wow. It's a little bit different with law enforcement where if the next person that's supposed to come in calls off and you're stuck, you just got to stay. There's nothing you can do about it. Comment. They have problems with coverage with a few places here in Wisconsin where they are essentially in a bowl for part of the city. Oh yeah. Those can be a problem. With a lot of the newer law enforcement radio systems that are coming out, they're satellite based. So they're literally going to the nearest tower, shooting to the satellite, then back down to wherever it needs to go. Let's see. Let's see. Christopher Green once got pulled over in Clearwater for making a left-hand turn on a yellow light. He said it was red, pled not guilty, went to court. He requested a dismissal. We had beers and wings afterwards. And believe me, it's interesting. And that's why I was never a big ticket guy. I can imagine they barely have cell signal in the UP in places. I don't have cell. Chad could tell you, I can walk from the living room to my kitchen and I lose signal.
Yep.
So think about when it's, a police officer on a scene needing backup, needing an ambulance or something like that. Ugh.
I know.
For sure. It's dense forest up there. They have, that's not something that it's surprising is, I go up north and I see, the actual ranger towers, 100 feet in the air where they watch for forest fires, things like that. Wow. Let's see. Tampa B-Man. Them watching videos of police chases. Have a whole new respect for you guys and gals in law enforcement. I hated chases. Absolutely hated them. And thank you for that. That's an awesome super chat. Thank you. And thank you. Yeah. Well, not a police officer at this time, although that may be changing. Oh yeah, back out. Had forced overtime as a medic, and yeah, believe me, here I don't know about where you're at with that back goat, but here our EMTs they'll work a 24-hour shift and they'll literally sleep inside the ambulance until they get a call out. So that's not surprising. Central Louisiana, I have literally been stopped 6 times in a month because I look suspicious just walking home and I forgot you said you're Louisiana. Uniform at night, wearing a gray shirt, red that says Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Wow. That's, my goodness. That's just, you need to file a complaint with the department. All right. You're trying to earn a living. And you can't even go home to relax so you can go back into the next day and work. Yeah, you need to document all that, and you need to file a complaint. That's stupid. And you can tell them Chief Post said that. That's stupid, but
I agree.
don't get yourself locked up by doing it. All right. Free Xenu project. I was shocked when we worked on the cops' cars where I used to work and opened the truck and looked in and found a kit for the Knight Rider with all the computer equipment. Oh yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
I know with our cars at the departments, you go into the back of it and it's literally like a, what do they call that, where they have all of the towers and everything for the computers, and you look in the back and it's all computers and electronics back there now.
Wow.
So now, have you, I know you've ridden in the back seat of a police car numerous times there, Chad, but have you ever actually looked into like the trunk and stuff like that? You ever seen that?
No, I actually have never been in the backseat of a cop car.
Okay. We got you. So, no, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, when I first started, you literally, your radio that sat in the console beside you, that was your radio.
Wow.
Now they have the computers, the radios, and all that, and it's a big thing of cord going to the trunk of the car where all the server. That's what the word I was looking for is, like a server phone. That's what they almost look like in the back of these cars.
Wow.
I've seen them in other states, but unless you're actively looking for them, is sometimes you miss them as you're going. But yeah, I've seen them in other states, but here in Michigan, yeah, we still have those Ranger towers. Let's see. Granted, it was different cops each time, but getting ID'd, patted down, threatened with arrest for not showing ID, working 12 hours. Yeah, but the fact is you need to document this. You need to videotape it. All right, you look suspicious. What makes me suspicious? I'm in a Five Guys shirt 15 minutes after the store closed, walking in the direction of my home. What is suspicious about that? That's what we call headhunting. All right, they can call it what they want. The Terry stop kind of stuff. Now, if it's 3:00 in the morning, you're all blacked out, and you're going up looking in car windows, that's kind of suspicious. If I sit there and I watch a person going down a street, looking into car window, grabbing the car doors, see if the cars are unlocked, that's suspicious. You've got to be able to, just saying I saw this person out walking down the street at 3:00 in the morning, that's suspicious to me. No, that's headhunting. You're just trying to stir up trouble. Once a police officer, always do. Well, I've always lived by the mantra as a law enforcement officer that I try to respect everybody, and the way that you make it go is the way that it's going to be. I don't like raising my voice. I don't like, the confrontation. I do what I got to do, but I always try to be respectful of everyone that I'm dealing with. Us as police officer to police officer, yeah, we tear each other up, but when it comes to the actual citizens, I always tried to be respectful. I always tried to treat people as human beings, and I wanted them to feel that they weren't considered a criminal just because of the fact that I was a police officer and I had to deal with them. I actually have letters in my personnel file where people have sent in letters of commendation. I had one that they sent the letter to the state attorney general and to the governor of the state of Michigan. And this woman says, I've been arrested before. And she was one of those where she was caught in the loop where she was literally trying to feed her children and having to make the decision. Am I paying for this ticket that I got, or am I going to feed my kids this week? She was in that situation. And I've talked about that revolving door policy we have, especially for people who don't have money. And she literally sat down and typed out a letter telling my chief how, even though I had to arrest her because it was our department policy, she felt like a human being for the first time she's ever been arrested. And she actually had faith in law enforcement that there were people out there that treated good. And that, that's the kind of thing that absolutely makes it worthwhile when you're doing your job and you see that kind of thing. And you see that the person not only took the time to send it to our chief, send it to the prosecutor, the state attorney general, and to the governor's office. And that's that, That's a great feeling. And Tampa B man, thanks. Chad's my favorite 10Xer in Clearwater.
Thank you very much. Very, very much.
Another super chat. Thank you, folks. Love it. Bit off topic. The very nice cop gave me a lift after bus didn't run. Had been walking for near 2 miles. I was stunned at how hard those seats were. Yeah. There's something else. But they have to be. The seats have to be like that. They have to be hard. They have to be water resistant, because you get people who go back there and do things that they shouldn't be doing, and you have to hose the car out. Wow. A lot of them now are literally the inserts that you put in bathtubs nowadays, where they literally set it into the car and bolt it into place. And that way you don't have to worry about it seeping under and all that stuff. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Joel McCoy, our sheriff's department just got 2 new trucks. We needed them. All decked out, expensive, but the right unit for this area. 4-wheel drive is needed. Last year, while responding to an accident, a car got stuck on a dirt road. Yep. And you'll see that. And, for a long time, departments didn't use SUVs. They didn't use trucks. They used cars. Well, now quad cabs and all that make it to where departments can actually have these trucks and be able to use them for patrol. And with the new upgrades that they're making with them, these things are fast and they handle really well. So, calzone sounds good, Tampa B man. You get calzones up there in your area, Chad?
Oh yeah, right. I get them all the time.
I wondered for a long time because there for a while I was literally just working. And, the calzones became this huge thing here in Detroit. And I was like, talking to family living down in Ohio. Yeah, we're just having a calzone. What's calzone? So for a long time, I was like, is this one of those Detroit things or something?
What got that going? Because I do a character now. So instead of Grant Cardone, I do Griff Calzone.
Yeah.
So I eat a calzone when I did it a few times.
Yeah, that's I forgot about that. I'm surprised they don't have more trucks as squad cars. Well, honestly, they're so daggone expensive is one problem. I know when I was chief and I was looking into it, the trucks are, whereas you're looking at like a Taurus or something like that. I don't know what the new cars are, but you get one of those, you can get one of those for $35,000. And then you're putting another 25,000 into it for the equipment, the lights, and the lettering and everything. Trucks are starting at like $60,000. So I can understand why that's why a lot of departments look at the cars. Here in Michigan, we get bad snowfall, so we need that 4-wheel drive. It gets to be a real problem. So, all right, folks. So as we're talking about this, I mean, let's face facts. Everybody has a camera, a TV studio in their hands, and they can literally end up taking video of you, editing it, and making it look any way they want. If you listen to Joe Rogan, ChatGPT, AI, all those things, there are now literal interviews that are supposedly Joe Rogan holding an interview, and it wasn't. They had literally took the time to map out the way he says things, the way his face moves, and all that. It's not hard anymore, and there are a lot of times that the mainstream media will run with an edited video, not show you everything that happened. And the reason for that is because if they show you everything that happened, then the police don't look that bad. And they've been caught doing that. Goldie, I watch it as it goes. I want to make sure I don't miss any comments. Everybody show some love to Goldie. She's priceless. Yep. Well, let's see. The end price for the new trucks were $85,000, and is that with the equipment and everything that goes on them there, Joel? Ted S. I would have to say that is because we are born and raised being told that about our right to privacy. It is ingrained into us about privacy that includes yourself. That's something, and that's what makes it really different here in the United States compared to some countries. A lot of countries are used to the fact that they they don't have certain rights that we have here in the United States. And that's how things like our sovereign citizens, the Moorish, all that, that's how they get to take root in things, because you have so many rights. And a lot of people don't realize that if you go out of country into some of these other countries where you don't have these rights that we have, it's a real eye opener. And a lot of people don't realize this stuff. And it's, we get so used to it. And a lot of people, they just want to say constitutional rights, constitutional rights. Well, the fact is that, yeah, we have them, but you know what? You need to know your constitutional rights. I believe it was Joel McCoy asked me in another live not too long ago if I could pass the U.S. citizenship test. And quite honestly, I don't know if I could, because there are a lot of things about the Constitution and Bill of Rights, things like that, that over the years I've forgotten. So, we all seem to think we have a hold on it, but how much do we really remember about those days? Do police departments get a special fleet price on vehicles? It works pretty much like with companies. The more you buy, the more the price goes down. So you see a lot of departments will come together and they'll make a purchase of, say, 10, 15 cars at a time. And there are dealerships that specifically, that's what they do, is they work on the police units. So, yeah, but for the most part, we don't get that huge a break off of it. Ted S., but I agree, in the U.S., I'm kind of with you. I don't understand if an officer can reasonably tell you why they know who we are. Oh, okay. I was Ted. Reefer Ricky. Yeah. The thing is that this is where I talk about things like you need that good community policing. You need what used to be called officer friendly. Those are the people who come along and they know your family. They know everybody in their city. They stop. They talk to the old people. They stop at families having a gathering in the backyard. Hey, what's going on? Hey, no, there's no problem. Just want to stop in and say hi, see if you guys need anything, see if you're doing all right. That's what we need. That's the kind of thing that I pushed for when I was in uniform and I was on patrol. Was I wanted to get out there and I wanted to see the community. I wanted to know the people. It's one thing just to show up in a community, get a paycheck, and lock up everybody. That's why I lived there. I had a vested interest. People knew where I lived in the city. I didn't like it because I'd have some real interesting ones show up. And Chad, you got a super chat there from Tampa B, man. Says thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Welcome,
Thank you
Chad.
so much.
Thank you, Tampa B. Thank you. Let's see here. Joel McCoy. That was the total end price, fully equipped. They are Fords. I was told that they got a special factory deal for police use. The sheriff had a hard time with budget, but they are great. And, I watched some cities that actually ended up hurting themselves. There's a city here in Michigan has a major headquarters for an auto manufacturer. And for years, that auto manufacturer got tax breaks. And they came to them and said, hey, you're going to have to start paying your taxes. And they're like, okay, no problem. Next year, that same city turned in their request to that manufacturer who had been providing them with like 23 cars a year. And they turned around and they got a bill. And they're like, what's this bill for? Well, that bill, we're going to pay the taxes. So it ended up costing them a lot because that manufacturer ended up moving out of the city altogether. So not only did they lose the taxes from it, but they lost all the other great things that came along with it. Let's see here. I will get Tampa. I'll get it over to Chad. And thank you again. Thank you. Let's see. Ted S. Community policing is so important, but I understand the hesitancy of police in today's climate. And that's the thing is I can see with these young officers who want to get out there. They want to know the community. They want to meet the people. They want to talk to them, but they're scared. If I go up and I talk to someone that doesn't like the police and they're sitting there, they're videotaping me and they were talking and they cut up what we're saying. And next thing you know, they're making me look like I'm saying horrible things about people. I can understand it. And there are people that are out there, and no matter how much we wish it wasn't like that, there are people who literally do those things. They look for reasons to get police officers in trouble. Yeah. And it's a sad issue that it can be like that. quite honestly, I just don't see where law enforcement's going in this country. Numbers are dropping drastically. I was talking about there's the reports Chicago's down 30%. LA's down under 9,000, and first time in a generation they've had that many. And it's it's sad. Chitza, I don't know what an LOD. Have you dealt with any LOD deaths? That's the worst. I don't know what you mean by LOD. You got to remember every region has its own nomenclature for how they say things. Like with us, you hear it all the time in the TV shows. We put a bolo out. Be on the lookout. Okay, we just called it a BOL. We never used the term bolo, and that was a line of duty. Yeah, I don't talk about those. Yeah, that's no. Oh, thank you, Tampa Bay. So, well, you just bought Chad a new calzone tonight, so hope he enjoys it.
Chad really appreciates it.
So, yeah, it's so folks, if you got any other questions, throw them out there. I know it's a bad situation, but we've got to have faith. Hopefully things are going to turn around, and we've got to stop with this whole negativity that's going on. There are a lot of people who are in law enforcement that are there for the right reason, because you're not going to be rich being a police officer. You're just not. All right. When you literally have officers who are so tired of being crapped on that they go to someplace like a mortgage company. And I'm not saying that's a bad job, but you're leaving saving people and being a protector of your city, being that service for your city, because it's just not worth it for the headaches that you're putting up with it. So, and I'm not discounting the mortgage industry at all. That's an honorable profession, and there's a lot of good people in it. I know a lot of former officers that do it, and a lot of I know guys that went from being police officers to being truck drivers, and they're making more money doing that. So you don't get into it to be rich. You have to get into it for the right reasons. And yeah, there are people who were bullied as teenagers and as children, and that's their way of trying to get back at society, but that's 1 in a million. It's not as many as people think it is. But yeah, there are officers who walk around with a chip on their shoulder. Like I said, I'll call it out, good and the bad. Hey, Poe and Chad, this is from Creepy. I'm late. Oh, you were on the water today, huh? Yeah, it's good and hot here today. I forget who it was talking about they went out to their mailbox, come back and looked like they'd been in a shower. So let's see here. Joel, we have 6-member sheriffs. That's a tiny department. Yeah. I know them all. Friends with most. Connection to the people works. It's easy. Yeah, it'd be great. We could all have that Mayberry kind of mentality, but you can't. It's bad. I mean, we just had your governor there in New York just put out a 12-page scathing letter against the mayor of New York, saying that he dropped the ball on the immigration situation that they're dealing with in New York. And the mayor fired back at your governor. So, I mean, in all honesty, you guys declared, I'm not talking about you, Chad, I'm talking about the governor and the mayor. You declared your sanctuaries. And you were sanctuaries until they actually brought them to you to give them sanctuary. There are reports of hotels that are charging $1,000 a night to keep people who have immigrated to the U.S. and are trying to find a home and a way to go. So let's see. John Bubba. Yeah, the city I am in is short, 30 to 40 officers. That's bigger. The department that I started off with, we had 24 officers when I started. Within 3 years, we had 50 officers, and then it slowly dropped back down. I think they now have something like 12 officers for the department. Had a shooting next door, and it took nearly an hour for the police to show up. Jeez. Wow. For a shooting. And, that tells you just how bad the crime rate is in the area that you're living. let's see, Tampa, but not a fan of the police. Actually, don't like any of it but me. Uh, give it a try. Give it a try. I know that different areas, and I can tell you, the family and I went to Florida one time, and we pulled into a parking lot. There was a sheriff's deputy sitting there, and he was in his car, and I rolled down the window and I said, "Excuse me, sir." And I asked him for some directions. He goes, "Why, certainly, citizen. Hello, officer. Can you please help me? I would really appreciate you taking your time out of the day to help me." And I sat there and I looked at him and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, he started off with this he was just an a-hole. Well, I pulled out my wallet and showed him that I was a lieutenant. Suddenly the whole attitude changed. But yeah, there are officers out there that are jerks. There's a city that was not too far from the city that I retired from, where they had an officer that he didn't care if you were a police officer or a regular citizen. He cussed everybody up. Wow. And he literally pulled me over one time, and it was a valid ticket. My trailer, somehow the wiring unit had come unplugged on it, and I didn't have taillights on my trailer. It's my bad. Give me a ticket. Comes up and wants to start giving me the riot act. I looked at him and I said, "Hey, go write me the ticket or shut up. You're not going to sit here and talk to me like this. I'm a lieutenant with my department. All right. I've been an officer way too long to have you talking to me like this." But, that'll give you an idea. Someone like that, if they're going to treat a fellow officer like that, how are they treating citizens? And I had a talk with his chief and with his lieutenant. I'm like, look, and I said the exact same thing. If he's treating me like this, how's he treating your mother? How's he treating your aunt? How's he treating the people of this community? And amazingly, he went through a whole lot of specialized training after that.
Wow.
Let's see, creepy. It's a cycle. Things will need to change. Yeah, there has to be some changes. But the thing is that society is getting more and more to the point where they don't have to take responsibility for their actions. These younger people, absolutely no responsibility whatsoever. I saw a video earlier today. A young man who had to be about 20, 21 years old has a personal protection order against him that says he can't go near this woman. An officer actually saw him walking with her up to her. They're side by side walking. She doesn't want anything to do with it. The officer stops him and says, "Hey, look, you have an order out that says you can't be anywhere near her." He goes, "Well, it says I can't have contact with her." You were walking side by side with her, talking to her. You're having contact. Yeah, well, it wasn't real contact because we were just walking and talking. You violated a personal protection order, and then you're surprised you got arrested. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Tampa. Thank you. Yeah, it's the thing. Just, give them a chance. Like I've said before, you never know when you're dealing with an officer, what they've seen just before they had to deal with you. There's actually a shirt that I have somewhere that says Downriver Homicide. Our day begins when your day ends. And I have another shirt that says Police Officer. The worst day in your life is another day in the office for me. So we see a lot of horrible, horrible, horrible things. And is Shell in here? One with cats?
She was.
I didn't see her.
Yeah, she's probably still around.
Okay. Let's see. Getting on down here, getting through some more of these. All right, Freezino, thank you for joining us. Have to go. Love what you do, Poe. Everyone have a great day. Rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We so appreciate that. Let's see. Dude, look up Alexandria, Louisiana. It's known as Little Chicago or Baby New Orleans. Almost every other day there's a shooting in the news. Yeah. I tell a story about on one of my trips to Thailand. I took the Amtrak train to Chicago from Dearborn, Michigan. And I did that because, number one, it cost less than renting a car. I didn't have to pay for storage of a car when I got there. So it was cheaper all around. Got a nice ride on an Amtrak train, and it was good. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Get off at Union Station in Chicago, and that's where I have the video of the stairs from the Untouchables. And so I get out. I decide, and I smoke. So I needed to go step outside the building to go smoke. And there's an officer that I know from the Amtrak police. He's like, "Oh, I'll go up with you. We'll grab one together." And we get outside, and literally I saw 3 fights in the middle of the street. And he's like, "There's nothing we're allowed to do. We can't do anything with it. We can only do things that happen here in Amtrak station." And then sounds of gunshots all over the place.
Damn.
That's where we're going. And it's got to change, and it's got to change here and here. And that's it can't just be, well, we have to get rid of the police. We get rid of the police and you see what's happening. Crime is just rampant. So there needs to be a big change in a lot of different areas. One thing, Chief, as a small department, as we have, bad apples show quickly. Yeah, oh, exactly. But it's really important to have a good leader. Now have a good sheriff, and that's not always how. Yeah, and you got to remember with a sheriffs, and I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that specific with you guys, but sheriffs are elected, so they got to be popular. And I know a judge that literally won their seat because they said, "I'm not putting anybody in jail." And so you better believe every criminal that there was went out and registered to vote and came in and voted for that guy.
Oh.
This is Trupo. At 9 a.m., a cop can be working a wreck. Then at 1 p.m., finding a body of an OD. Then at 4 p.m., call back. Yep, exactly. I can't tell you how many times I've actually gone to scenes where I've seen people have been just the worst of things that they can do to them. And, then I have to go to a call where you have 2 neighbors disputing over someone cut the grass over the edge of the property line. Debbie M., good grief, so bad. Of course, crime will increase. There's no repercussions, and it seems always the innocent pay the highest price. Well, that's one of the things you got to remember, and that's, you don't have police, you don't have people going to jail. No one's paying the price for the crimes that they're committing. What do you expect? And it's not a good scene. Chad, I'm having a thought here. Everybody's been asking about it. Okay. Wednesday we were going to do. Did you see the new thumbnail for the car talk?
Yeah.
How'd you like that one?
I liked it.
Did you see yourself?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's how we're going to be doing them from now on. How about Wednesday, instead of we do the car talk with Poe, we do the online party?
Sure.
You up for that? So, folks, send us suggestions, what you'd like to see us do, things like that. And, let's make Wednesday night the online party for everybody. Have a great time. And instead of worrying about all this serious stuff that we've been doing so much, now we can just kick back, relax, everybody chat, just feel it out.
Yeah, whatever you guys want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Joel, our sheriff won by being honest and transparent. He is a law and order guy, respect. And you're seeing that a lot around the country. You're seeing the folks with the mentality that I have of transparency. Do your job, be a good citizen, and treat people right. But if you break the law, you got to pay the price. You got to own up for what you do. And that's what you're seeing a lot of coming out. And it's very popular. I mean, it was great for a while when people thought, hey, we got no cops, don't have to worry about things. Then all of a sudden, they just stole everything out of my house. Sorry, we don't have anybody to show up. You can come on down to the police department and make a report. Somebody can take a report from you there. So people are starting to see, yeah, I think I want law and order back. So, all right, folks. Well, Chad, I think we're about hitting it here. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Chad, we're going to have to get together and figure out how we're going to do this party. I'll see if I can get hold of a couple of people. Maybe Vanessa from Degraded Daughters might want to jump in.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get her in because she's always bubbly and always happy and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So, all right, Chad, you got anything to add to it?
No, just this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, having a great time with it. I always enjoy. Folks, as always, if I disagree with you, doesn't mean we're enemies, doesn't mean we're arguing, just means we disagree. We're all allowed to have our own thoughts and our own processes. And I try to, even though I disagree, I try not to be judgmental with things. And that's what I ask from everybody here, is we all try to have an open mind, work together, and try to take care of each other. And remember, as always, we get one shot at this life. Make it count.